about the event listeners and query selectors. So let's take the trivia thing. I'm using the code that the student sent me, and so there are 4 buttons, and one button is good and the rest is wrong. So what he in English, good and wrong. And this student thought, let's put this in the code. Well, then you know that this class is wrong and this ID is good, because only one can be good. That was the idea. But I don't think it's a good idea. So let me show you why. This is a different IDE, by the way, but it works the same. But you can see the results straight away in this IDE. So let's go to this web page that is created. So you see this. But if I take a look at the code here, I can see, as anyone can see in HTML, that Spain is the right answer. So I don't think it's a good solution putting the answers in the code. So let's not do that. Let's skip this and go back to the basics, where the server, or in this case where JavaScript, is going to find out what the right answer is. So we have these buttons, and the idea is that if you push on the right button, that it says okay, and if you put on the wrong button, if you push on the wrong button, that it says not okay. First, this script is in the top of the page, and you should know that pages are run from top to bottom. So the code in the top is executed first, and in the bottom latest. Now some students say, oh, you just put your JavaScript at the end in the body, and then it's also run at last. But that's not true. Not entirely, because all elements need to be active to make event listeners, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to make event listeners that listen to the event of a button being pushed. And the whole page needs to be loaded. So putting your JavaScript in the bottom is not always a good idea. So this document.add event listener and then DOM content loaded, DOM stands for document object model, content loaded. This is the way where you are sure that things are loaded, that the whole page is active. Now, how can we test this? Simply by giving an alert. Hello. Semicolon. We run this code and it says hello, and now I know that the code is run. Another way of doing this is less nuisance. We have in this IDE the console. You can also say console.log hello, and then it's here, and then you don't have this thing that blocks the whole page. And it will also work here. Here in the inspect, we also have a console, and as you see, it also says hello here. So now what we want to do is make an event listener on a button being clicked, on each button being clicked. So we first have to catch these buttons in JavaScript, because they are in HTML, but we want to be able to address them in JavaScript. Now, if we would do this in a style sheet, we would simply say button, because it's a tag, button, see, it's a tag. So we can simply say button and then say something like font weight 600 or strong or bold or whatever. And you see now it's a heavier font. This doesn't work as easy in JavaScript, but somehow it works the same way. So we want to address all of these buttons, not one of them, not only the first one, all of them. We want to have them inside a variable where we can do stuff with it. And this is the way you should think in JavaScript. You are working with elements, with objects that are part of the that are in the memory, that are part of the software. So we need to be able to address these objects as objects, not as text, because in HTML it's text, but in JavaScript these are objects. So let's say elements. We have to catch them, and we do that with document the query selector, because this works for all elements. If you have an ID, it works. If you have a class name, it works. If you have a simple tag name like button, it works. This works for everything. You use query selector and all, because you might get more than one element. In this case, there are 4 buttons and you want to have them all. So we use the query selector all without a typo. And what is the selector for this query? Well, the same as in style, as in CSS, button. Now, say that our buttons would all have a class like Knoppy. If they would all have this same class, like this, Knoppy is Dutch for a little button, then you could say dot Knoppy. Now, if this was an idea, only one of them had this as an idea, then you would say hash Knoppy. But it's not an idea, it's not a class name, it is a tag, and a tag is addressed as button. So with this line of code, we have selected all buttons and we've put them in the variable elements, and we can check this. Console.log elements. And here you see that we have a node list, so a list with 4 elements numbered 0 to 3. So we have elements is an array of HTML button elements. We have this. So if that's the fact, then we could also iterate over these elements with for var I is 0, I smaller than elements dot length. Length is a property, so there are no things behind it, no brackets behind it. Elements dot length I plus plus. This is, as you see, almost the same as in C. I starts as 0, our I becomes 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. until we have iterated over all the elements. And we can again check if this is working out by outputting elements I in our console. And here we have 4 HTML button elements. If you want to know the tag name, then you add the tag name property button. If you want to know what's in there, the inner HTML, then you add inner HTML. Germany, Spain, Austria, Italy. So we catch each element with elements.I. And now we know that we can add an event listener. Being elements I, for every button we add an event listener. Let's add an event listener on click, and let's call this the function that is activated, and let's see if it works. Click is Dutch for click. So now if I click on the button, it should give a click in the thing below. The problem is I can't see here what button has been clicked. And for that we have a small trick. Being the following: function can have one argument, and that's the event itself. And if I want to know what element has been clicked, so which of these buttons, which of these 4 buttons has been clicked, I can simply ask for event.target. That's the element that has been clicked. So I could say thing is event.target. And then I could, of course, say console, to test this, console thing.inner HTML, which would output the text on the button. And you see that this works. So the last thing now I need to do is make it a bit more concise. So the city is event.target.inner HTML. Agree? And then I can say if city, and I think that we should really use a to lowercase to make sure that that it works with that if we mistake somewhere in Germany or Spain or whatever, that it works to lowercase. But there's another thing. As you see, there are spaces around here, so we also need to strip it like this. Is Spain. In that case, you could say, well, let's first check before we build in fancy stuff. Good. I'm doing something wrong. Too low. Oh, this is wrong. Yeah. Spain. Strip is not a function. No. Strip in JavaScript. What I want to do is remove all the oh, trim. It's called trim. Is remove all the spaces around it. Good. So you see it works. Let's add an else. Console.log. Wrong. Wrong. Good. Wrong. Wrong. So now it works. And I have pinpointed my event, my target, sorry, my button by event.target. So again, this button is not a piece of text, it's an element, it's an object. And in my JavaScript code, it's not text, it's an object. And the object is caught with event.target. And with inner HTML, I get the text inside the object. So then I use to lowercase to make sure that Spain is spelled with a lowercase s. And then I use trim to remove the spaces around it. And I can only do this because I have this text in my variable city. And then I do something with it. Now, what can I do with that? I could say that I could add style like dot goed, which is Dutch for good. Color green. Dot wrong. Dot fout. Color red. Oh, color is red. And here I could say that I add a specific class name to the element. Now, how do I do that? I'm not sure. I don't know everything from the heart, but I think event.target, because that's the element, dot add. I'm going to look it up. Add class name JavaScript. And there's a thing, this needs to be done without class list.add. Ooh, I was way off. Goed. And in other cases, Austria, red. Italy turns red. Germany turns red. Spain turns green.